Hi everybody, and welcome back to Hex Token channel live show. And of course, we're going to have a lot of fun today. We've got some good topics. We've got obviously the Hex price, so we're going to do some chart talk around that. And of course, we've got quite a few other things. We're going to be talking about the Tshare rate is jumped big today, and not far away from the big 20,000 hex per Tshare mark. That's a major move, and it's going to be shelled majorly when we hit the 20,000. Also, obviously, we're going to talk about PulseChain and the PulseX sacrifice as well, and a few other topics there as well. So this should be a bit of fun for the live stream. And so I hope you guys enjoy yourself. Let's get into it. Listen, just check the audio, make sure it's up and running, and get into that. Bam, looks pretty good. The audio seems to be running well. And so get into the chat, folks. Always enjoy a vibrant chat to talk about anything you might have heard or anything that's exciting you, whether you've been picking up some hex for the sacrifice, anything you like, just get in there. Let's keep it on topic, of course, PulseChain, PulseX, Richard Hart, ecosystem, hex, and that sort of stuff. So very, very cool. We've got Chris White is in the house already. Good to see you, Chris. A morning from the UK. Hex is looking nice. It is looking pretty good. Obviously, a little bit of a pullback. We're going to check that just in the range, really in the range. And now I did talk about a couple of scenarios in the daily update vid today. So if you haven't checked that out, go check that out, of course. Very, very cool. Now, obviously, don't forget to subscribe, like, share, hit the bell, all the good stuff, help with the algorithms. And of course, that ends up promoting Hex, promoting PulseChain and PulseX, and much, much more. Very cool. I want to give a shout out to all the Hex Token channel members. We've got SKB, Asfire, Art, SH256, and of course, John is the latest one. So welcome to John as well from New Zealand, I think. So maybe a fellow Kiwi compatriot there. Big shout out. If you want to join, of course, hit the join button. We've got Pulsicans, Hexkins, and the Richard Hart Club. Three pretty good ways of supporting there for sure. So nice. Let's get into it, folks. And well, get into that chat. Definitely get in the chat. Here we are on hex.com. You know how I like to roll. I like to start off with the actual platform products, and we're going to get straight into it. If you're new to Hex, of course, Hex is a certificate of deposit on the blockchain, the very first, and of course, it gives an incredible APY, and very exciting to get in there. So get involved. There's lots of videos on it, of course, on this channel. We're going to get straight into the Hex price, though. Here we go, folks. Bam. Here we are on a version 3 Uniswap, and of course, this is the Hex USDC pair. You can see up the top left there. We're on the daily chart, and we've got just nothing else but the Bollinger Bands and the price action and the 200 moving average in yellow. Very, very cool. So as I say, the top of the Bollinger Bands is the top 95% price rise, and the bottom 5% is the bottom blue line is the bottom 5% of the price range. The red one is the average in the middle, 50%. And of course, look at the Hex price riding up the top of the 95% quartile, in fact, above that. So it really is ramping up there, and that's pretty exciting. The 200 moving average is now 21.8 cents. That is still climbing slowly and surely every day. Obviously, with this big price rise up in the near term, what we might call an exponential moving average would probably be pretty cool. I should probably add one of those in. That would take more of account of the current price in the short range. Very, very, very cool. The volumes are leading up pretty nice. It's just in one pool. Remember, there's 4 major pools on Uniswap, 2 ETH pools on version 2 and 3, and of course 2 USD pairs on version 2 and version 3. Now version 2, of course, we've talked about in the daily vids, has actually taken over version 3 in the last couple of days, but does swing around. Previously version 3 pool had a lot more USDC Hex value in it at the time, so pretty cool. So the volumes definitely increased since I did the daily vid. I think it was sitting about 5-6 million back then. It's now up at 12 million. The day's still ticking away there, of course. We're in green candle, currently in red candle at the moment, and it's just slipped just before the live stream, just slipped below 28 cents. I'm sitting at about 28.1, but this is what we expected in the daily vid. I talked about the fact that if we go sideways at this level after having a huge rise up, then that's a pretty good thing. So, and good to see that. Hey, Brownie made it. Hey, woo! Like Flynn. Hey, Brownie, good to see that you could make it today. Very, very cool. Big shout out to Brownie in the house. Nice. And don't forget to get in the chat, folks. We love a vibrant chat. Get in there for sure. And there we are. Let's have a quick look on the ruler. We're going to start building up this chart talk here, and we're just starting off nice and slow. And of course, we were up about 160% from the low there, and of course, the low was down in around 12 cents was the bottom, not 10 cents as we say, 12 cents. And of course, now we're still up even at the price at the moment, so let's say 28 cents, we're still up 132%. So really, really nice gains. Obviously, there is always temptation for people that make those gains if they were lucky enough to get in at any time below here to take profits. But of course, a lot of people are buying for this PulseX sacrifice. We saw that in our poll that we did on this channel. There were a couple hundred people, at least about 53, 54% that said they were going to sacrifice liquid Hex for PulseX. Now, they may have already had Hex in their wallet. They may be buying Hex as well, which we can see in the charts, definitely buying. So that's the case. So a lot of that limits the amount of selling we might normally expect after such a big run up. So very, very cool. Let's get into a bit more of that. We're going to get into the we're going to pull in the Fibonacci, and we're going to put that down the bottom here. I've got my chart structure comes in as well. I'm not sure how I can disable that, but it's coming. But there we are. And the Fibonacci is coming back. If we have a pullback, I'm expecting if there is a pullback, and that is a less likely chance, this is kind of the bearish scenario, then I'm picking 23.24 cents. But I see that as a less likely scenario. So, you know, that's a 50% retracement back to 21.6 cents. 38 is down to 23.24, and this is kind of the range where I thought 23.24 cents would probably be the maximum. The reason why that is because of the PulseX sacrifice expected anytime before the end of the year, and I've always had this date, as you know, at the 27th. So it's kind of where I felt like just after Christmas it might be the earliest that it happens, but before the end of the year is expected. So that's somewhere between 5 and 9 days is kind of the logic there. For sure. So getting close for sure on that. And of course, this is actually front run my price prediction. It's actually doing better than price prediction, but pretty much close at the moment. It's like right on the bar there, but 5 days ahead at the moment. So definitely could move up much higher than this. So looking good there. Right, so that's the price action there. That's kind of the bearish scenario. 23.4 cents is my bearish scenario. Obviously, it's not investment advice, just my infotainment advice there. So I shouldn't say advice, but just my infotainment opinion is what it is. So nice. All right, so there we are. And so what I'm actually expecting is it just to move sideways a bit, and that's what we're seeing at the moment. And we're going to go into the hourly for that. We're going to come back. We've got a lot of stuff to look at here on the chart, so we're going to pull that up. Let's just jump over to the hourly here as well. We've got it's Marion. Smash the like, definitely smash the like, subscribe, like, and share. Definitely hit the bell, of course, and help the algo. Yeah, definitely help the algo. And of course, helping the algorithm also helps all YouTubers on doing Hex and doing PulseChain, doing PulseX. It gets it out there with the algorithm. So very cool. Hungarian Hexkin in Thailand. Very cool. I made it too. Watering the grass, drinking beer, and listening to you. Brought more Hex a couple hours ago. Hey, nice one there, Hungarian. I hope you definitely got in the 28 cent range. Very nice. Last Border's in the house. Hey, Last Border, good to see you. Thanks. Says Last Border. Very, very cool. So definitely getting familiar with a lot of names in the chat now, and big shout out to all of you there. Very cool. Now, if you're new, of course, to the live streams, definitely get in the chat, and let's get going, folks. Building up the community is a big part of the journey. All right, so here's the hourly, of course, and in the daily vid, I definitely picked that we would probably move in a sort of consolidation downwards. We've seen that time and time again as we're going up. You can see that all the way in the hourly chart, all the way down when we're down at 12 cents. Up we go, down, up and down, up and down, up and down, etc. Over and over and over, up, down. Some of the different percentages, some of them, but up and down has basically been the thing. And of course, we've been up here for a little while now. We haven't had as many long bows. So once we reach the top here, see this is a lot flatter than other occasions. I think this is probably the closest one we had back on the 19th. Most of them have just been up and down, up and down. So the structure is different. And here we are riding down the Bollinger Bands of the short-term 1 hour phrase here at the moment. And I expect it kind of drift down and consolidate around here, maybe somewhere between 27 and 31 cents. It's kind of where I think that it will kind of consolidate out there. We've got obviously the 1 hour 200 rolling average moving up to 23 cents there. That also sort of supports that 24 cents in any bearish pullback, because that is relatively bearish from now. And the reason why I say it is, once again, is because of the PulseX sacrifice coming closer and closer and closer, somewhere between 5 and 9 days away is my guess. So definitely before the end of the year. So that's 9 days. So it can't be much worse than that, unless Richard misses the mark. But I don't think he's going to do that. He's said it many times that before the end of the year. So I think he's pretty much said that so far. So nice. All right, so that is the hourly, and of course, if you bought in here recently, a couple of hours ago, you would have been buying at about 28.5 cents, which is pretty good value compared to 31, and that makes quite a big difference there. The lowest we've been so far in the last couple of hours is 27.3, so very cool. And so that would have been about a 10% difference there if you'd sold at the top there, bought back here, you would have made about 10% on your bags pretty much. Based on that knowledge there, so nice. All right, we've got a few just a relatively low volumes on the hours. We had obviously in the price increase, we had the much bigger volumes here, so that's something else to point out. Let me go back to the daily. Going to get back into there, and Hex Turbo's in the house. Another great day in Hex Turbo, absolutely big. That is so true. All right, so let's get back into daily here. We're going to go pull out here, and then we're going to have a look at the TA metrics. We've obviously got the CCI index, commodity index, looking still really good. Obviously with a little dip with a slight pullback in price, but look up here, and we can stay up here for quite a few days, as we can see back here, and I'm expecting that to be the case. Not expecting us to really go too much lower than maybe 75 in here. So we're expecting to zigzag a little bit like this. Obviously a bit more volatile here, but pretty much like this here. And then we got down to maybe 60, 75 there, but I expect this to probably be a bit slightly higher. So we'll watch out for that for sure. That's on the commodity index. Let's have a look at the MACD, the moving average, and look at that, boy. Still looking super strong, and the volume's up really nicely there. So still well intact. And of course, we can see that run up really quite high. So we've still got quite a bit of room there as well. Will it get as high as this? May or may not. We'll find out. If a whale comes in and starts moving around, we still haven't seen a lot of that yet. We've seen some decent investments, but not the big boys playing, or big girls, as you might say, who knows. But coming in here, we'll look forward to that on that too. So let's have a look at the RSI. Now, RSI is obviously very commonly used for seeing how much room you've got to move. And we had obviously plenty of room down here to rise up. It was like perfect play. And then, of course, up we went, and we've just down a little bit, but we can actually move quite high, as I said, 93. And now we're down at 70 here, so just a pop below, we can easily move back in here and stay up for quite a long time. You can see here we could stay up. How many days is that? It's a few days there between these sort of bars here. So yeah, that's 2 weeks. 2 weeks there. So we could easily stay up quite a bit longer here as well on the RSI. Let's quickly look at the EFI, certainly up as well. That's looking good, and we could get a little zigzag here. We'll look at that as well. And then next up was the volume oscillator, and that's looking super good. So on the volumes as well. So really good, strong, positive territory there, and plenty of room it could move up as well. And finally, probably the most interesting one at the moment is the DMI, and the buyers is in the blue line, and the sellers in the orange line with the signal line in the middle. And we are looking really good there. Now, what might be an issue is if you see the signal line start crossing the blue line, then up the top here, then that could be a little bit of an issue there. If it comes up here and front run it, you can see how front run back up here. That could be an issue at some stage. So we'll just keep watch that gap there. It's not inevitable, but definitely the big gap between buyers and sellers, and expect that still to play out because of the PulseX, that wall that's in front of us and the price smashing up there. Pretty much simple fundamentals is the idea as well. And of course, we saw that with the PulseChain sacrifice back in between 15th July, those first couple of days, 15th, 16th, 17th. We saw the before that, we saw the price rise up before that, so something like the 12th, 13th, 14th, and then it was rising up pretty strongly, and then it stayed up there for a couple of days, that 15th, 16th, 17th, and started getting pushed down. Some say, of course, that other whales were suppressing the price, selling off some of the other bags while they got the big USD at the front there. So definitely interesting theory there. Adam says, morning from the UK. Thanks for the consistent update videos. Really enjoying them. Hey, Adam, right back at you. Appreciate your support as well. So very cool. That is all the indicators still looking very good, folks. And that really does support us staying up here more. Like I say, if there's a big enough account out there that wants to sell down, that's like there's nothing you can do about that. If they're still out there, they don't want to get a copy on PulseChain, they're risking their bags, just want to take the money, there still could be happening. We have got we did absorb a lot of that stuff down through the down decline, but now we're definitely, once we since we smashed 28 cents, we're definitely still broken that down one there, and we stayed up over it, of course, for a day, so very positive, and then second day as well. So even though we're slightly dipping below 28 cents a moment, it really is a catalyst for just maybe consolidating and then moving up at some stage. And this is all short term, so it's not like a week from now. If the PulseX comes out on the 27th, then it's the guns are away. It's going to be bigger, higher and higher. So we'll definitely watch that at the moment. It's going to create a lot less resistance to the price going down, although like I said, 23, 24 cents. If the market does move down, that's where I think it could possibly on a bearish move. Otherwise, just move sideways in this range, 27, 20, 31 cents. And then, of course, the upside is that the more buying comes in and it keeps pushing it up. So that's kind of that there. And let's pull it in the structure as well. Bam, let's do that. And yeah, get into the chat, folks. Really love that. Subscribe, like, share, hit the bell, of course. And let's pull this out. So we've got the structure and now in the chart. And of course, we actually did away with all these. The defend line was never reached. That 10 cents. A lot of people apparently were talking on the platforms, social media about picking up heaps of bags at 10 cents, which would have been nice. But we only had 12 cents, so that was the case. I don't think we're going to get some of these patterns here. We had big moves down after having a big rise, and then we get the big move up. I don't think we're going to get that. The reason why is because we've got the PulseX sacrifice coming up too soon. Could we see that afterwards? I talked about it in my daily vid. I definitely think that's a possibility, depending on what the gap is between the sacrifice and the actual launch itself. So I'm kind of getting the feeling that we've got the 15th at the moment of January as the earliest date for the launch here, but it could be later. 2 to 3 weeks potentially, depending on how PulseChain Testnet 2.0 goes, and then possibly a PulseChain Testnet 3.0 with the AMM bot being tested and distribution as well. So we'll definitely look at that as we get the information. We really need Richard to give us information. I can speculate about the ranges where I think they are, but they may or may not be that way. I could say 2 weeks for this and 2 weeks for that, but really doesn't give you much help. So we'll see how PulseChain Testnet 2.0 goes. We've already got the Uniswap front end on there. I've already done a trade on there. I showed you yesterday, Uniswap trade. So if you want to see that, you can see the presentation I did on yesterday's live stream. And of course, we also looked at the validators. We were up to 21 validators yesterday. I haven't checked that today because it's not what a topic I was going to particularly cover, but might cover that again tomorrow. And so up to 21, we start with 3. And I'm not sure how many of those are actually functional. Some times they're offline, and maybe they haven't fully being reliable, because that's the other thing. We're going to have 33 validators on the PulseChain node, and so a lot of people are going to compete for those nodes. I bet your bottom dollar they're wanting to accumulate Pulse. They're going to want to get a lot of people staking with them. Now I understand that Dave Ferreira and the associated loosely or directly with the Kinetics team, certainly some support going on there, as we're going to look at doing a public validator, trying to get a lot of support behind that. But once again, we'll still be competing with some of the big fish out there that also want to be one of those special 33 validators out there. And that's who you stake with. You stake your Pulse with those validators to earn more Pulse. And of course, if you've got a long-term view on fundamentals, that's something that getting more volume is what you want to do, as well as getting the price rise potentially over that period of time, which could be pretty ginormous, right? So 100x, 200x, 1000x, 14,000x really has got some pretty big upside potential. So nice. Dr. Sergio's in the house. Hey, Dr. Sergio, good to see you. And good morning, Hex Token. Hey, great Doc here, Sergio. Good to see you as always. So very, very cool at the moment. So obviously the price being a bit lower means you can pick up a lot bit more than they're buying at 30 cents or 31. Pick up more Hex for the sacrifice. Very, very cool. And it is risky business when you're in this to sell down because of the sacrifice. You may get, if you sell down, you might end up not having any Hex to sell down. You might have your US dollars or your ETH though. You can always sacrifice that. Remember, it's the USDC amount that counts when you sacrifice. And so obviously, if you decide in your head, your mind, exactly how much USD you want to sacrifice, then it kind of doesn't matter what token you use. But of course, if everyone's buying Hex, then it's pushing the USDC price up of X. Means that when you sacrifice your Hex, you're going to get a bigger, better USD value. That's the whole idea. Even if after you've sacrificed it sells off, you still get that timestamp amount for your Hex. So pretty cool. All right, so that is pretty much that at the moment. So we obviously in the uptrend there with the hit the 28, and we're going to watch. I think we're going to get probably even today or tomorrow get another nice green candles, what I expect. But definitely we could just consolidate here for us a little bit and then move up, of course. And any announcement coming out as we get closer and closer to that date makes it more riskier for people that decide to play trading games or play around, depending on what their intention is, of course. But if your intention is a sacrifice, you're best to just hodl your bags and just let the market do what it's going to do. Now, after, of course, depending on the gap, as I say, to the actual chain, we could see a slow decline. Well, we're going to check that in our other our PulseChain trading timeline chart. We'll check that later on just to show you that point. So hopefully that was pretty interesting, and obviously we want to get some more volumes in here after we've had a little bit of people selling off a bit. I want to get some more volumes in there at the moment. So I'm just going to take off the structure here. I'm going to put in the old ruler, and we're going to take this down from the high here. And so if we did get down to 24 cents, let's assume, then that would be about 23% off here. Obviously you can pick up a lot more bags, but is it going to get there? That's the question. That's kind of my bearish scenario at the moment, given all the fundamentals I just told you. And at the moment we're down maybe 10%. So and it may just trade in this range here, maybe the sort of range, maybe up to tomorrow or something at the worst, because otherwise it's just going to keep going up again. And if a whales start coming in, it's gone. It's over for that scenario, right? So we get some big buying in here. It's over. And we saw that back here. We got the bigger buying. And so if we see some bigger candles come in here quite easily for the PulseX Sacrifice, no doubt. Now the PulseX Sacrifice is, we looked at Pancake Swap, and of course that had based on the website, and I don't know whether it was dynamic, of course, representing the pools dynamically, or whether it was an update at some point of valuation, but that was up at 15 billion. And of course the market caps, pretty huge, and the X returns are pretty massive. So definitely something to think about. Actually, I might have some of that up here. Let me just have a look. I'm not sure if these are completely updated on my upstream, but you're talking about 141x from the initial offering to all-time high, approximately, for Pancake Swap, and 35x from the launch price to the CP return. And that's not even that was an empty shell copied over, but of course the PulseX is going to be a fork of this, of Pancake Swap, and that's going to be potentially you're talking on a scale that's never been seen before, the biggest yield farming in crypto history, as well as the biggest airdrop, where you're getting half the pairs free, and potentially both pairs free, depending on what the combination is of the pair. So you're talking about something on another scale as all. So if Pancake Swap looks so good, imagine what PulseX is going to look like on the back of PulseChain. And it's going to be crazy good. So very cool insights there. All right, so that's that. Let's jump over to, I want to jump over to just moving topic a little bit from the price, just moving over to the Tshare. That was the big move today. I think I said it was like $28 move, and that would cost you $28 more to get a Tshare, just not on the price of X moving up, but just on the price of the share rate moving up. And as you know, the shares is a key fundamental, one of what I call one of the four major fundamentals. In fact, probably one of the top two there. I think the other fundamental for Hex is actually the origin account, and the way that operates as like a Federal Reserve to change, supply, staking benefits, rewards, and all that sort of stuff in there. And obviously how it then flows on into PulseChain with the sacrifice, and then flows in, will likely flow into the PulseX with the same logic being played out. So it's going to be interesting to see that play. So here we are at the moment. We've obviously got the Tshare rate price at the moment is $5,578. Remember, at our snapshot today, that was close to 6,000 when we were up at 31 cents, and I think it was 30 cents. And that's double what it was 10 days ago, where it was down $3,000. So doubled in 10 days to the price, and obviously that impacts the price. But what we've seen is actually there's not just the price, but the share rate go up, and that's the magic stuff. So we're going to scroll down to the share rate. Here it is here, of course, the Tshare rate. Now it was obviously going up pretty fast here. Now they actually inverse this number, and that's why we see it as 10,000 at the bottom. You know, we got 10,000 down at the beginning when we were back at the beginning of Hex. Then, of course, the big payday, we had the big jump. We jumped from 11,166 Hex per Tshare. Obviously, you can stake longer than a 2-day, and you can get you can increase your effective rate by getting 20% bonus per year in shares, all the way up to 4,641 days, close to 10 years. And then, of course, that give you 200% more shares. So that's another way of getting more T-shares by longer pays better. But in any case, just the base share rate is 11,166. And then on big payday, we jumped all the way up to 16,000. And this wasn't as high. People thought it was going to go much higher than this. So 11,000, 16,000 was a big move, but people actually thought it was going to go higher. And it didn't. It went to 16,000. But then we had all these step jumps. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4 step jumps. You know, it has these big step jumps. And that's kind of what we had today. We had this week's already had some pretty big moves. I think we had at least 3 days where we had like 25 Hex more required in the share rate. So increased by about 25 Hex. But today we had 96 Hex jump up there. And so now we're at this massive 19,905 Hex per Tshare, and this is part of the magic of Hex. Now you do need a few of the other fundamentals to move as well over time, but this always moves up and to the right. And this is a big deal. And as you see, that the Hex community and the wallets are growing, the stakers are growing, and we end up getting close to 400,000 wallets, and we're getting close to, I think we're getting close to, on Staker app had 73,000 stakers, and they have got an average of about 5 stakes per staker. So it's a pretty big deal. And of course, the share rate means it's just getting more expensive. Regardless of what happens with the Hex price, the T-share rate is getting more expensive. It's better to get a stake, a T-share today than it is in a month's time, in 6 months' time, in a year's time. So this T-share rate, once we hit 20,000, it's going to be a big deal, big milestone. But the next big one, of course, because that's going to mean that the T-share rate has doubled since the beginning. The beginning was 10,000, and now it's going to be 20,000. So the T-share rate is doubled, 2x on that. And of course, in the future, that's going to keep climbing. You know, 30,000 Hex per T-share required for a T-share, and so on. But then, of course, over time, the Hex payout per T-share, and when we say T-share means trillions of shares, just represents the fact that you need such a big scale of shares to be able to account for the system with all the staking and penalties and all that other stuff going on there, and the allocation of the reward pool, which is that inflation and penalties that get paid out when people don't meet their commitments, early in stake, stuff like that. So this is coming up for a 2x on the share rate, and it's only going to keep going up, and it goes up at a faster rate. So it starts going exponential, the share rate. So it starts going exponential, and so it makes it way more expensive. You therefore need a lot more economic energy over time, and that's why you see you might start off with so many people, but it's going to start spreading out amongst all the other people, retail, big billionaires, etc., over time into a big giant tree. It's going to be so massive with people, and the network effect really takes on the virality. And I'm expecting that virality to stick. Like, we're already growing pretty spectacular, but I think 2022 is going to go crazy mad with virality, all the way from PulseChain itself, Hex being one of the flagship, if not the flagship DeFi on there, and of course PulseX as well. And this is going to bring in so many people. It's going to bring so many people over from Ethereum. A lot of those projects that just don't work on Ethereum because the S-load function and other stuff like that are just going to flock over. Already Telegram is just exploding in the PulseChain group, and so you can see all those metrics just keep going and going and going. There's more YouTubers out there promoting PulseChain, promoting YouTube, promoting PulseX. It's just really getting big, and it's all very real stuff. And I've got some really good stuff to talk about later about some of the big players coming into the market, because that's the stuff I really look at, because the big dollars come in, and that really starts to move things, just like it did in Bitcoin, just like it did in Ethereum and some of those other big projects as well. So definitely a big play here. I really want to focus on the T-share rate, since we had such a special day today, increase of 96, and that was a really good day. And we're not far away, 95 Hex away from 20,000, and that's a 2x in the share rate. Really amazing, and that's regardless of what's happening with the Hex price. Of course, the share rate and the Hex price move together up. then the share price itself moves up together, and that makes it way more expensive. And so it's a really game changer. That's why in 10 days we move up from 3,000 a Tshare up to 6,000 earlier today, and now currently at 5,500. So you can see over time, you can see a Tshare get worth something like maybe $50,000, $100,000. It's just going to get crazy like that. And remember, the share rate goes exponential. We're starting off actually at the moment on the low end of the share rate, even with the 2x over the last 2 years. It's actually going to start going up really parabolic in that sense. So it's going to be pretty fascinating to watch that for sure. All right, let me just catch up with some of the comments because I'm going to move on to a little bit more to explore that. Dr. Searcher says, when exactly is your PulseChain launch prediction? The 27th is my date, but it has to, Richard said before the end of the year, he said that on at least 4 occasions. So that's what we're waiting for. So that's why I say somewhere between 5 and 9 days is we're expecting it to launch. If I get the 27th, then I'll shout myself. Oh no, so I'll shout myself something special for that. Matt Nicholas says, hey mate, a great Hex banter going on here. Everyone's pumped on Hex waking up again. Absolutely, Matt. I agree with that. And there's so much stuff coming. I think it's really going to blow our minds. I'm going to talk about some of that soon. It's coming because you know me, I like to talk about the price chart, but I like to talk about the fundamentals coming up as well. And so I'm going to try and illuminate, is a better word, illuminate some of that as well on this chat. Pretty cool. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, of course, hit the bell, and definitely get in there. Chris Rice says, Adam Champion, are you from the Midlands? And so the question for you there. BJM says, I'm going balls deep into PulseX, taking 20,000 profits from BTC and putting into PulseX Sacrifice. Can't wait. Hey, that's pretty mad good, and that will put you in a pretty strong position there for sure. Obviously not investment advice, but yeah, that sounds pretty good. Blaus says, good morning from Germany. Hey, good morning, Blaus. Good to see you from Germany, and I hope you're having a good time there. It must be kind of winter up there now, right? So it must be getting snowy kind of thing. I don't know. I've never been to Germany. I want to go to Germany. Never been there though. Rune Skies is in the house. You don't know. Pump it up. You've got to pump it. Yeah, that's right, Rune Skies. I love Rune Skies everywhere. Everywhere I go, Rune Skies is there. BJM says, if that doesn't make me $1 million, nothing will. Yeah, I think it's going to do pretty well for that. I think you're placed pretty strong with a decent investment like that there, BJ. Rune Sky says, let's go, people. Absolutely. And Dr. Suze says, Guten Morgen. Yeah, Guten Morgen. Good morning in German. Very cool. Wie heißt du? Wie heißt du? Or how are you in German? That's pretty cool. And Rune Sky says, my DCA or dollar cost average ratio is 60% Hex and 30% PulseChain, 10% PulseX. Yeah, I'm bullish for PulseX. I didn't sacrifice enough for PulseChain. I missed out on being early in Hex. So yeah, that's a pretty good percentage ratio there, Rune Skies. So I think that's going to hold you instead. Like I said, I think being a Richard Hart maxi is a good thing. I think that's proven already with Hex is that you're really backing the right horse there. 99.9% or 99.5% of most crypto projects are not that great, and then you have to find maybe top 100, and even some in the top 100 are a little bit sketchy. And then you can go. There are definitely other good projects beyond that, like Phantasma Chain and stuff like that, further out. But you just got to really do your due diligence and think about what happens in a bear market. What happens in a bear market? Which projects will still do well. No, that only gets you down to a really small amount of projects, and I believe that Hex, PulseChain, and PulseX are one of those. Particularly, obviously Hex, which is 85% USDC, and that certainly helps a lot. And with the big bags coming in there, so it's pretty interesting. Rich guys says, "Walk me, my people." watch me. Not sure what that means, but it sounds cool. Rich guys says 6% Hex and EHEX or PHEX. Well, he's going to get both, right? So he's got EHEX and he'll get the copy on the PulseChain. So he'll have both of those. Brownie says, sacrifice as much as you can afford to lose. Says Brownie. Well, yeah, maybe not that. Just sacrifice what you're comfortable with. There's probably a better way there, Brownie. Otherwise, people lose money that they thought they were happy to lose, but they weren't really happy to lose it. But once again, you're backing the star player in crypto, Richard Hart, the genius of crypto. Wiz D says, good morning. How much have I missed? Well, let's see. 33 minutes off. You've missed 33 minutes, but you were here 29. So you've missed about 28 minutes, something like that. But good to see you in the house, Wesley. Brownie says, nice 42x G Pulsekins in the chat. Yeah, that's really great. 45 now. So yeah, big welcome to all of you. And I hope you guys are enjoying remember, enjoy the journey and not just the end destination, because it is really cool to you get the full experience of that. So pretty nice. Mothers in house, maybe last chance to get some cheap Hex. Your thoughts? Yeah, well, we just talked about that. I said my bearish thing for the moment, short term, very short term, possibly 23, 24 cents. But I think that there's a good chance we'll just stay in a trading range, maybe 27 to 31 cents, something like that, and then move up. And of course, I'm still, if we get some big money coming in, if we get that sacrifice is getting closer, then that's going to be even more likely. So we're kind of trying to play probability with some rationale and reason behind it. And that's kind of where we're at. So far, we've been so good. Obviously, when we start down the bottom, people say, oh, after the prices rise, oh, that was easy to predict. But no, you didn't know whether the price was going to keep falling to 10 cents or falling to 7 cents that some people were saying. You didn't know that whether it was actually going to get back up to 31 cents. And people didn't know that. They might thought maybe 23 cents. So I find that kind of, backward looking thing a little bit, funny. So, but definitely. All right. So Blouse says cheap is relative soon. $1 could be cheap. And yeah, that's a really good point, Blues. So Blouse, so once we get over $1, it changes the game of Hex, of course. You get to $2, $3, $4. And remember, the 555 tour guys are talking about $7 Hex for 2022. And of course, that's quite in the realm of possibilities, especially with what's coming. And I'm going to talk about that shortly because I'm saving some of that juicy stuff for a bit later. So definitely going to be pretty cool there. Nate Colonel says, will the pulse sacrifice phase last a few days? Now, it's a very good question. Now, the original PulseChain sacrifice was 19 days. It was 16 days for what that had the base amount, 10,000. Start off with 10,000 points per $1, and then of course on top of that had the volume multiplier, meaning the bigger amount that you put in US dollar terms, then the higher the multiplier you would get, and that was from 1 to 2.5 with the big whales at the top, the one that did probably 29 million, $30 million, getting that 2.5 mark or close to it. So we're waiting for the distribution file to see whether they actually do the average for that range or do the 0.25, which I imagine is 2.5 is what I'm expecting. So pretty exciting. Obviously, the top, I think it's the top 1,000 wallets also control about 70% of the pulse supply, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I think a lot of those people, there'll always be some sellers in there, but I think the buying will be between those big groups in there, and I think there's a lot of long-term players in there, because if you were originally like the real Hex Godwell, if you're originally an ETH holder, you become whatever you had at the beginning is now worth hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars. Then that's the same way I think a lot of those whales are looking in and for PulseChain, that they're seeing the big picture, that it's cheaper, faster, that all the projects that were being killed off in Ethereum because of the high fees, which is a lot of them, will be resuscitated and relive on the PulseChain, and even the good ones that are still surviving over there will do much better on the PulseChain, especially with the liquidity being locked in, the AMM bot harvesting all the pools, setting up the liquidity, preventing any rug pull, diluting the liquidity providers on ETH on the PulseChain, and then having that put into the PulseX is huge. It's huge. And now we're talking about every pool having potentially hundreds of millions of dollars in it, and then billions and billions of billions, as we saw CakeSwap getting valued up that high, and then of course that values up PulseX, and of course that values up PulseChain, and then of course that also impacts Hex as well, being the flagship. So it's a mother of all things, the biggest airdrop in history, the biggest yield farming in history. It's just going to blow people's minds. And Richard Hart, indicated to that, and he's always right about these things for the most part. Obviously, he's human; he can always make mistakes, but he's always been right on the money with these things around the valuations. And he said people don't even realize what the true impact of this all going to be. It's going to shock a lot of them, pretty much. I'm paraphrasing, but that's kind of his tweet there at the moment. So pretty massive. Molly S says, I think Hex will pump hard until the first. I'm just going to jump back to the price there, just to pull it in. I'm going to get back into the Hex T-share. I want to talk about a little bit more. We'll get into some of these comments here. I think Hex will pump hard until the first or second day of PulseX Sacrifice. Yeah, well, I agree with you that, and the reason why is because I think we probably got a bit more testing in play for the testnet, and so I'm with you on that one. Last time it was 3 days approximately for the PulseChain. But definitely 1 or 2 days could have it in play. But of course, if Richard plays out the fork, it gives us an idea where the fork is, with the special higher block that's currently not the one on testnet at the moment, but the higher block. in the future, then that will also cause fundamentals, and so it could be short-lived, and the price may not dip that high. We may get a sharp dip, but if that news comes out, big rise. So there's so many. You've got the PulseX Sacrifice, then you've got the fork for PulseChain, and then you've got the actual PulseChain going live with PulseX. So what's the gap between that time is important in crypto, as we all know, and whether the price holds up there. The other thing, of course, is what the whales do. Now, the whales differently, particularly play when the timing suits them the most, which will no doubt be when the sacrifice comes out. So the price looks like to me it's going to keep going up at that point, and that's probably the thing that we care about most at the moment. Lorik says, feels good to stake Hex. It does very good. And man, those Hex per Tshare payouts have been so good. Now we're sitting at about 5.75 Hex per Tshare, and now we're sitting at about 5.95. And of course, the Hex price up as well, from 12 cents up to 30 cents or 28 at the moment, thereabouts, is a big deal. So it's pretty cool to see that. RuneSky says, "Wog means we're all going to make it." Okay, cool. I'll try and remember that. Also, once PulseChain launches, the EHEX, PHEX, DCA box average would depend on which side has a cheaper T-share, B per share rate. I'm not going to go 50-50 on each end. Code is the same. Yeah, so that's the other thing, is once we have Hex on two chains, the T-share rate and the T-share price going to potentially be different, particularly at the start. And I think regardless of, could be minute, because we're going to have different behaviors on both chains. And I've always said we're going to obviously get the retail people jumping into the PHEX because it's cheaper and faster, and you get to stake, unstake, and do staking ladders, all the rest of it. And of course on ETH, we potentially have big whales that don't care too much about the price, and may buy up a lot of the Hex there. So, but in any case, we're going to have differences in the share rate and the Hex per T share payout, at least slightly to start off with, and may grow over time, or make them stay reasonably converged as a lot of the other stuff is converged. It's going to be interesting to see that. Bloz says, I think we should give all the guys working on Pulse and PulseX their Christmas break and be patient. Yeah, well, that's the thing. Well, we're talking about at the earliest mid-January, but as I said, it could be 2 to 3 weeks after that. We could be ending up with a late January, early February in that case. So we'll watch that. Muzz says, cheers, man. Love the daily update. Share it to my team. So informative. Gold. Hey, Muzz, I do appreciate that. Big shout out to you for doing that. And Crypto Passive says, guys are going heavy for PulseX. Yeah, I think that's going to be higher than people expect, actually. Like I said, the yield farming is huge craze. A lot of people chase the yield farming in crypto. We've seen it on just about every chain there is. As soon as they set up liquidity pairs, you see a huge amount of money going into it. A lot of them are what they do called mercenary, in terms of they're jumping chains and yield farms platforms to go for the higher yield. Some people are doing that, especially the ones that do it pretty hardcore, and they get the yields while they're really high and jump over to the next one. Of course, Richard's trying to prevent that by doing the PulseX sacrifice up front, so there's going to be a valuation, and he's going to determine what the reward rate will be, so that a lot of the players that are already getting in are kind of committed there. So he's trying to shore up to prevent that and make them more bonded to the yield part. Maybe a bit like OHM fork treasuries, where you get the treasuries in there, and it's a little bit about hooking in that value straight off the bat there. And then of course you can leverage up the price can really rally pretty strongly, so it's got some similar qualities. Solix says, hey Solix, good to see you. If PulseX will be the same staking interest like PancakeSwap, we're around 45-60% APY. Hey, that's a really good observation, Solix. Thanks for that. And Andrew Baker says, hit the like, guys. Yes, definitely smash the likes, smash the subscribe, and yeah, really cool. Andrew Bell says, hey, we passed 1,800 subscribers. I think I may even be close to 1,850 and heading up towards 1,900 as the next mark. So a big shout out to all the subscribers out there. Do appreciate the support as we go ahead into the future. It's going to be pretty awesome for all of us, to be honest. Everyone is watching, so nice. And Solix says, $1 Hex incoming next few months. Definitely, I think that's in play, and that could be on both chains too. There, Solix is what I'm expecting, especially if we get a set. Let's say that we have a $7 Hex next year, and we split that to $3.50 each. That's still $3.50 for both chains. And obviously, we're ignoring some of the differences there, but it's definitely something that's up in play. Blau says the cake inflation has been changed many times. I think the current APY value is not representative of PulseX. Well, that's what I'm saying. The PulseX is going to be a much bigger scale. and you know how good cake is done. So, and obviously they have the lottery. We went through that the other day. If you check that live stream, we went through that. The cake, we went right through the whole platform, talked about the syrup pools, the staking pools, and the yield farming. And also we talked about their lottery, their deflationary stuff, the lottery, and other stuff they're doing there too. Blouse says, what will be the PulseX APY, do you think? And so, well, it's going to be much higher than that, I imagine, at the beginning, and then start get to a more modest level. But it's always going to be popular in my view because of PulseChain. It's going to be so massive, and people are getting a lot of their free peers. So I think there's a lot of stuff coming over there. As I said, all the fundamentals for PulseChain will help feed into those yield farms. Blouse says, hard to say at the start until we see the inflation numbers on Testnet. Cake started with stupid high numbers at the start. Yeah, so that's kind of what I was saying. So well said there, Blouse. Very cool. All right, so welcome everybody. Of course, get into the chat. We really do enjoy a vibrant chat. Get in there. It's been really good today. Do appreciate it. And of course, don't forget to subscribe, like, share, hit the bell, of course. And if you're watching this after the live stream, get your comments in there, folks. I do respond to all the comments, and that's going to be fun too. All right, let's jump over. So we talked about the Tshare rate going up almost to 20,000. It's going to be a huge milestone. It's going to get shelled out everywhere. And with the new Twitter storm that's getting out to promote PulseChain, I'm sure that might even, maybe they'll even start promoting the Hex one there too. Pretty cool. Now this is obviously the Hex stake amount. We can see that the share rate up there, 19,905, and that basically means that if you do a stake, it's going to go up. So let's pretend we're doing 10,000 Hex, and let's pretend that oh no, we're doing a 2-day stake, something like that. And the current price 28.2 on here, it says. I know it's a bit different on the actual Uniswap. So that gives us, the rate there at the moment. So that'll give us, 5.495 longer pace better. I think I did 2 days there, and we get half a Tshare for that. But obviously, as the share rate goes up, we're going to get less and less Tshares here. We'll get less and less of this as the Tshare rate goes up. That's basically the idea of this. That's all I want to point out there. All right, let's jump over to PulseChain. Obviously, the Testnet 2.0 is live. We're running at 3.7 blocks at the moment, 82,690 transactions on there. Blocks are running pretty good. The ideal is just to run, about 3-second blocks. You don't want it much faster than that. You get orphan blocks between validators. Issues like that apparently occur. So yeah, pretty cool, and it's going to be so much fun. Imagine that, and we're just going to get there'll be so many projects testing on here right now, and it's definitely something I would like to see a bit more of. Obviously, we know Trust Swap and lots of other projects will be on here testing, and yeah, I'd like to get a bit more insights like that. So I will try and dig up something around that for the future, but looking really good. And yeah, it's pretty cool. Now I've already done some transactions on here. Don't forget, I've got videos on doing a Uniswap swap. I did covered that yesterday in a presentation yesterday. Also validators, I've got videos on that. Getting just staking with some validators. So people ask about staking. It is with the validators. The validators are the ones that confirm these blocks. And of course, there was a couple of issues a couple of days ago, which was perfect because the testnet's about finding any issues with the staking code. Because obviously, there's a fork of there's a fork of Ethereum, and it's got the London EIP 1559, and of course. That's running on an older test block from about a month and a half ago. So it's going to, trying to, with the extra code of staking on top of it, they're trying to test that out with the validators. So that's really the big thing at the moment, as well as the Uniswap front end, which seems to be worked pretty well. I had no problems with it. Obviously, the only time it's not going to work is when the chain itself is down or possibly having behind in the indexing, which would be the other way of happening. So you can see we're indexing the chain right now. So some of the counts may be inaccurate. So you get a little bit of that too. All right, so very, very cool. That is what's happening. It's looking good, folks, though, and we obviously want to get more, and that's why we're going to jump over to the PulseChain timeline, and we're going to check this out for sure. So here we are, folks. As we said, we're talking about the price going up before PulseX. We had a couple of rises, 3 days of rises, remember, with the big volumes coming in. This was way back on the 15th of 15th. I forgot the timeline on that. I'm just going to take off the number there so you can see the dates, so that's a bit better. And so we've got the last couple of days of the PulseChain Sacrifice. The price really rose up, and we were at the time 19.67 cents, and then we stayed up for a couple of days up at 18.6 and 18.7. So you got a couple of days, then the price started selling down. So we had probably a lot of sacrifices in there, put a lot of whales in there sacrificing at the front there. And the first 5 days, of course, was 10,000 points per $1. And then the 16 days, which is, if we run through here, 15th, and go through to about here. So those first 16 days, the 10,000 points per dollar started going up at a rate of 1.05. So pretty much 5% a day on compounding on itself. And so the rate got really relatively worse. So the best rates really were in the first, probably the first 7-8 days, and probably the best rates, and then it sort of slowly started declining there. But once again, if you're in any time at this time, you're going to do well in the future based on the way Hex worked out and the way that people in the emergency phase were getting their prices really heavy. And currently, like I say, I think it's like in excess of $1,600, somewhere around that mark, per 10,000 points now. That was $1. Now it's like a factor of 1,600 more. So it's pretty crazy like that. Also, you're probably only getting about 5 points per dollar now. Whereas previously it was 10,000. So it's a lot difference there now. So that's what happened. Then, of course, in the last day 17, 18, and 19, there was no volume multiplier on top of the base points of 10,000 to 1. And then we saw a 1.75, and that's when the Origin account came in and sacrificed all that stuff to take up dominance in the just like it does in Hex, to take out dominance in the total supply. And remember that PulseChain is going to be deflationary. It just gets less and less over time because 25% of the fees get burnt. So it's different from Hex from that point of view, where Hex has 3.6 up to 36.9% inflation, and that gets distributed only to stakers. And we know stakers is about 9.7%. So that's why we get 37 to 38% APY. Plus, if we have special big penalty days, that can be in excess of 40%. And so that's how that works. So pretty cool. And obviously the price went down, and then of course there was a bit of a move around, and then the price decided to go up. PulseChain's coming, going up, of course. But then Richard said, 2 months time we got deferred. Obviously software is hard. That's pretty much the thing, and it is hard. So that's the case. Anyway, so we ended up having the mercy phase all that's gone all the way through to today, of course. That's that blue dotted line there. We've got the PulseChain Testnet 1.0 went all the way through and finished on the 15th. And of course, 15th, it overlapped a little bit so that people that were testing on it could keep testing and then move over to PulseChain Testnet 2.0, which started on the 12th. And currently we're on that right now on the 27th. So let's see how long that's actually been going now. Bam, all the way through to the 2nd. So PulseChain Testnet 2.0 has been going for 9 days so far, and so I've got that going just as a marker, going all the way to what we thought PulseChain launch range would be, and that would be 17 days. But we just don't know, is it going to be 14 days or whatever? So that's going to be really important. Then we've got PulseChain Testnet 3.0. That was definitely raised by Richard, as I've mentioned several times, and that was the 16th of December. And yes, there will be another testnet with balances written. That's the distribution balances. Remember, we were expecting a CSV file and the AMM bot run. So that's the big deal, obviously, with the PulseX potentially. So we'll see that as well. At the moment, of course, we haven't seen GoHex on the PulseChain yet, but we have got the Unisys front end in there. I've got the little tick there for that. And PulseX, of course, and the bridge, which is run by Ruth the Dev, and a few others in there. So actually, I'm going to be doing some more stuff around that as well. There's so much stuff to cover. Really is a lot of stuff there. Now, obviously, the PulseChain Testnet 1.20 has been based on, started off with the fork 13,224,745. So 13,224,745. That's what it was based off, of course, at the moment. So if we're at 13.2 there, we can see the PulseChain is now up at 13.5. There's a couple 100,000 more blocks in there since then, because they're running blocks at 3 seconds, 4 seconds. It's going pretty fast on that. So pretty cool. We've got our rocket, of course. We passed 28 cents, and we'll see where the price goes at the moment. Obviously 27.4 cents at the moment on the price. So that's where we lead up. And of course, those two orange bars were the initial launch range for PulseChain from Richard Hart back on the London party around here. and that was what that was based on. And we had the midpoint, of course, that was going to be, it was 1 month to 2 months and probably 1.5. So that was the idea. And we had it at 6th or 7th of January. But of course, I've moved it out of there. And the reason why I've moved it out of there to the 15th is because the PulseX sacrifice expected to start somewhere between the 27th and the end of the year, which is the 31st. So that's like I say, 5 to 9 days time. And we've seen the price pushing up against here, and I expect that to continue. And of course, then we've got this here. So this here could actually, if we get Pulse Testnet 3.0, we've got to test out a few more of these things here. The distribution, the AMM bot, the PulseX, then presumably the bridge is already operating a testnet, so that's all these are pretty much finished. They're probably doing a little tweaking here and there with the testing, but that's the case there. Now, this could easily get pushed out to 2 weeks, 3 weeks, right? So we could have end of January or early February launch. So just take that into account. This is the earliest possible date, and it really depends on this testing at the moment. So that's where that is. Hex scale, of course, is the big new whale buying. We've got whales out there already. The Hex God whale, Overwatch, potentially 3 Arrows, all those kind of players out there. A lot of individually big, rich individuals as well in the play. We also know, obviously, we had 5 big sacrifices for PulseChain. They were over $10 million. Some of those names are in there, but we also had up to 75, 78 people that sacrificed over $1 million. So we've got a lot of big players in the house there for sure. And that's probably grown a lot more if you think about it. It's attracted a lot more, and we're going to talk about that. So we're expecting Hex scale to come up. Now, Hex scale is specifically around the trust buying, so getting people to invest first privately and then publicly, potentially listing on NASDAQ. And then, of course, privately, they're going to try and reach targets. The Kinetics has already mentioned that they have something like $1 billion distribution already, and financial managers within that portfolio or that pool of funds that actually can make decisions and just get into Hex without too much fuss, and so they could reach their private targets pretty fast. He's pretty optimistic about that, and then moving to public, and then potentially having people trade IRAs, and then institutions coming in potentially too. They're not only just doing those funds as well. It looks like they're going to have an individual trusts as well, so they're going to offer a lot more services with that. And they've got the Mountain Trust as well, doing consultancy, taxation, all that sort of stuff, and also other benefits around logistics. So premium services, like if you need a jet and you want a jet in real fast, they'll get it to you fast. They've got a sort of a kingmaker in the industry there that's able to a bit like a concierge in a hotel, be able to get you the things when you want it, and the movie tickets and the sports tickets, stuff like that. So they've got the premium service. They've got a big picture there, and I think it's much bigger than what we expect it to be, and I'm sure that will grow in size too over time. Now, the other thing I've added here is Funding Jim, a billionaire liaison. Now, I'm not sure whether Funding Jim will find it surprising that he's jumped onto this timeline, but I think it's pretty important, and so I'm going to get to that in a second. I'm just going to get back up to the chat here. Let me get up. I think I've lost the line there. Let me have a look here. Let me just delete some of those comments here. I just got someone in there. Let me just ban that one. User ban, and let me just get rid of that one. Hide user. Cool. All right, so nice. I had those, and let's get in here. So I think, did I get too far behind here? Not sure. I think we're up to blouse. How to say? Start to. Yeah. So I think we're up to date there. So very cool. Sorry, I was just having to clear up. I probably do need a moderator or two in the chat. So if you want to put your hands up for that and you've been around for a while, definitely let me know, and I can promote some people to the moderators. Got no moderators at the moment, so that definitely helps. All right. So yeah, Funding Jim. Obviously, Funding Jim's also in the Kinetics Discord syndicate side, and I've been following Funding Jim for a very long time. And have huge respect for him. Now, he's actually involved himself into what I call a billionaire liaison, and that is he's actually onboarding billionaires, and he's probably got at least half a dozen billionaires that he's now in discussions, onboarding, introducing into the Hex ecosystem, PulseChain, that sort of thing. And of course, that's big money. That's big money, and that's in addition to the Hex scale. Now I've got the arrow touching Hex scale and Funding Jim's line of discussions. Now Funding Jim's also met with billionaires, but sort of meeting with more before the end of the year. and he travels the world to do that. So within the US, Europe, places like that, and he's very good at that sort of stuff. And he's also a part of the a special, private club, pretty much, with hundreds of millions of dollars of people that have hundreds of millions to billions of dollars. And of course, he's in that with a number of other Hexagon, large Hexagon holders. So he's doing that. And so he's actually building out all that big money coming in. This is big money coming in for 2022. I think it's going to be quite mind-blowing. You've got Hex Scale going on. You've got the funding gym with the billionaires and then with the Kiyosakis of the world. And once they start getting in, they start telling their friends, and before you know it, you've got 10, 20 billionaires in the place. And by that time, especially with Hex Scale and other stuff coming up, you can see how it just sort of explodes. That's why I keep saying 2022 looks incredible for Hex, PulseChain, and PulseX, and it's just getting bigger and bigger. And that excludes, of course, stuff like the Highest of Stakes documentary, which is really going to target that virality and the retail level of investor. So you've got this large investor, and then you've got the retail investor stuff, and much more around that. There's also a lot more happening on the social media side of things. Moving, I think Hex and stuff's moving to platforms. I think Maddie Allen's possibly doing something around 24-hour to 7-day a week broadcasting. So they're really getting that sort of momentum. Virality, there's more YouTubers, more social media stuff happening. It's really starting to expand. Now, we recently saw the Twitter storm, of course, getting onto Twitter for PulseChain. So you can see it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And so when I do the daily vids, of course, I'll probably end up reporting much bigger moves in the number of accounts and wallets and stakes, and particularly around PulseChain and PulseX. So it really is going to really get quite mammoth. It's going to be exciting. Very cool. I'm sure what's happened to my the comments here. It doesn't look like anyone's in the comments here. So it's like they've slowed down. So pretty cool. Hey, we're up to 1 hour, so that's pretty good on the live stream there. So nice. So this is a big one here, and I don't think it should be underrated. This is big. And so these two here are rating up. And that excludes, like I say, all the other ones we talked about that are in the house as well. So looking very exciting. All right, so let's jump back to the price back here, and this is where we're at the moment. So we're on 27.3. We'll see if it gets much lower than this. I've kind of said 27.31 is kind of the what I'm expecting to happen. But like I say, if there is a bearish move, 23, 24 cents would be the case in short, and I think that'll be short-lived if it does happen, and then potentially moving back up again. So nice. This is a nice little healthy movement here at the moment as well. So very cool. All right, let's get. I don't know what's happened to the chat, so that seems to be everyone stopped chatting there. So that always worries me when I'm not sure what happens there. All right, so yeah, I think that's probably where we end up at the moment, folks. So definitely 27.3 cents is cheaper to pick up Hex at the moment if you're looking to sacrifice than it was. You can always try and time the bottom, but we'll see how that goes when by tomorrow when we do it. So I do appreciate everyone's support. Subscribe, like, share, hit the bell, and I look forward to catching you all tomorrow. And yeah, if you want to become a moderator, if you've been around for a while in the chat, then I'll definitely consider you for getting to those positions. That'd be really cool. All right, thanks for watching. I'm not sure what happened to the chat. It seems to have just stopped. So cool. All right, there we go. All right, enjoy yourself, folks, and bye for now. Take care. See ya. Not quite finished there. Okay, not quite finished there. All right, so Ben Life says, awesome again. Hey, Brownies, do appreciate that. And thanks for watching, I say. That's what I say. So, yeah, I'm finally going. All right, bye for now. All right, take care. Take care. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself. Bye.